Welcome, bienvenue, Stephanie, at the on the Leaders Who Care series. I think we're going to have a lot of fun, but I also know you're going to bring a unique experience to the audience by what you do and what you've done and what you're doing. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
My pleasure. This is LA talking to my former hometown of Miami. That's also pretty cool. So hi, everybody in Miami. And let's start by, if you could briefly introduce yourself, not business side yet, but who's Stephanie, where you're from originally, where you are now, which I kind of gave away, you know, your favorite color, something you've never told anybody ever in the world that you want to reveal now, stuff like that. Family. Who's Stephanie?
Well, I'm a pretty transparent person, so I don't know that I have any deep, dark secrets. You know, since I was a little kid, I've always gotten you talk too much, you're sharing too much.
I get that.
I don't think I overshare, but definitely I'm very transparent. I grew up in Belize and I live in Miami, Coconut Grove. I'm a fierce Miamian is what I like to consider myself. So I will definitely come to blows if I believe you're dissing Miami too much.
I don't diss Miami. I am the opposite Miami on that.
And what else is there? My favorite color, I think.
I guess it's green.
This color palette here. It's an aqua thing. It's also supposed to represent calmness and knowledge and
sure
other deep meaning things as well. So
I like it. I like it. Any family in Miami, family in Belize, anywhere?
I have my mom and I live in Coconut Grove together, and I have a pretty big family in LA, lots of cousins. I am one of, I'd say my brother and I are one of 105 cousins. So I have 100 and what is that? 103 cousins. Just from my grandfather Neil's side. So
go Neil.
yeah, my mom's dad has spawned 105 humans.
Must be exhausted.
So I like keeping track of it. I don't know that I've not met all of my cousins, but pretty much all of them I know. I think my mom's met everybody except, well, just one was born last week, so we haven't met him yet.
All right. Well, it sounds like if there's a family reunion in LA, I hope I'm invited. That'd be great to meet. So speaking of, kids, what were you like as a kid or a teenager? Were you a girly girl, or were you a tomboy? Were you video games, watching movies, playing sports, music? What were you like?
Pretty much how I am right now. I was like a little intense kid. I mean, when I was 9, I was like super happy that I could read The Economist. And when CNN first came out, that was my favorite channel. So while everybody was into MTV, I was definitely rocking the CNN. And yeah, I actually am one of these people that get great pleasure out of sitting around trying to figure out how to solve the world's problems. And when I first started reading Economist, I couldn't really understand much of it. I ended up reading the obituaries because that one I could read. And
that's interesting.
Gosh. And I over the years would be like, take introspectives on my life to say, am I on the path? Like, am I living a life that would be worthy to be on the obituary page of The Economist? I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll see.
Don't count yourself out. Why not? That's, we would rather have you on a page in The Economist rather than the obituary side. That's for sure.
So, do you know what you have to accomplish to be able to get to that page? It's huge.
Well, you know what they say about impossible? It means I'm possible, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you were talking about the path, the journey. Tell us a little bit about what intrigued you to take the education path you took. So you were on the West Coast and East Coast. You went to USC, got your bachelor's in international relations, and on my adopted favorite Miami Hurricanes side, you got your master's in international studies and economics. Why?
Why the two course? So the two coasts. So I came up to from Belize just before my 18th birthday. I was just coming over here, going to school, and I was going to go back home and make Belize this vibrant, amazing country. Um, and then 2 months before I graduated from USC, there was an election in Belize, and the party my dad aligned with lost. So the job that I had waiting at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs just evaporated into thin air, and I moved to Miami for two reasons. And like I like to tell people that no matter how serious or intense I appear, I really don't live a very intense and serious life. Because I moved to Miami I'd come to spring break, and my uncle took me out, and I was really, really happy with the fact that we went to Key Biscayne, and there was this place called Sundays on the Bay, and they played Caribbean music, and it reminded me of Belize. And I thought, well, like, it's not a sketchy part of town, and you get like the same thing that's like Belize. And two, back then, American had very, very cheap flights to go to Belize. So I was like, okay, I'll come to Miami, and was waiting to be to for elections to start over, to happen again, so I can go back to Belize. And it's really interesting. Like when you're in your 20s, trying to put your life on hold is a little bit difficult. So I just kind of like really got into Miami. I love Miami. Miami is like the best place you can live if you can't live in Latin America, because you have the Latin America feel, and you have some of the trappings of the US. And I was like, I don't know that I'm really wanting to go back to Belize. It's been 5 years. And so my dad thought that the way I could support Belize was to be the honorary consul of Belize. So I was the honorary consul of Belize in Miami for 8 years. And when I became honorary consul, I was the youngest honorary consul ever, which made for some very comical interactions and events and so forth, because honorary consuls are usually people in their 50s and 60s. So like now I would be a good honorary consul. Not when I was 20, what was I, 20, 26, 27 years old when I became honorary consul. And so people kept mistaking me for the honorary consul's child. I was like, no, I'm the honorary consul. Very comical. Yeah.
That's a great opportunity. Was your dad in government then, I gather?
Yes. He used to be one of the prime minister's advisors.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And why, obviously there was the international on both degrees you had, international relations, international studies. I guess that relates to what you said about when you were younger, you were trying to solve the world's problems on CNN.
Yeah, and watching CNN, yeah. I got the same degree in a master's because I am a solid B person. I tell people I'm a solid B. Once I do something and I'm like, okay, this is good enough, solid B, I'm ready to move on. I'm not gold plating anything. I'm not trying to get to an A plus. No, I'm not one of those people. And I was like, well, I'm coming to Miami. I'm just really coming to Miami to hang out, to wait out elections. I wasn't coming to Miami. And so why not just get the same degree I had as undergrad?
That's what...
So and it worked out well. It worked out well. There was some obviously academic rigor that I had to engage in to get my degree from University of Miami, but
well, it's I guess that's a good way of doing it. It's kind of interesting. I went to Miami on spring break from Montreal. Never thought I'd be living there, and I did for 23 years and loved it. It is Latin America, not in Latin America, basically, but it's also US, as you described, and it's a buzz. And so I loved it, aside from humidity. I loved it. So let me ask you then, our firm, we were founded on the premise that leaders and their organizations can do way better when they're doing good at the same time. And I think as I go through the thread of how you developed, I think you were an early you were an early understander, if that's a really word, of how that works, because you did a lot of voluntary work at both universities, I noticed. And then you seemed to touch all the bases at previous jobs and then hit a home run when you went to the Children's Trust of Miami-Dade, which I know pretty well, and amazing, amazing organization. Describe a little bit about your career journey, and was that what you envisioned was going to happen?
No, actually, I really believed that I was going to become a diplomat and I was going to go work in the Foreign Service in Belize, and I was going to go to the embassy in London, the High Commission in London, rather, not the embassy. And was going to work there for a few years, and I was going to go back to Belize, and then I was going to join the economic development unit. And I mean, I had my life planned out, and then just had different plans. So when I graduated, I got a job at Hewlett Packard and their Latin American headquarters, and I was a secretary. I had a master's degree, and I was a secretary. So I mean, and back then they were actually called it a secretary.
Yeah.
And so most of the days I was bored to tears, and I'd walk around the office and talk to people who would want to talk to me. And I met this guy, I can't remember what his name is, but he was also bored to tears. And he was one of the people that wrote the Unix code. And he was bored, and I'm bored, and he wants to teach, and I want to learn. And he taught me all the basics and intricacies of computer and how it all worked. And I was like, yeah, I totally get this. I was like, oh my God, this is like easier than international relations, because you can apply your analytical skills, and the computer will actually do what you want it to do. I mean, today, that might not be as true with Gen AI, but still, it's still fairly predictable what it's going to say to you. And what I found was this was easy. It was fun. It was back when the internet was booming. Tech was taking off, and I was like, this works well. And I went and I got a job at a boutique consulting firm. Actually, I worked at two boutique consulting firms, and that really, I think, positioned me for a great career, because when I worked at these companies, because they were so small, I was able to play a number of different roles, and that meant that I could fast track my I can fast track my career advancement, my learning, my experience, my exposure. And then I bought a condo, and I was like not really feeling the travel as much. I wanted to stay in Miami a little bit more, and so I got a job at Burger King, and that was pretty cool to be
That's
able
at
to
World Headquarters, right?
their world headquarters, yeah, and being part of the BK team. I mean, that was like that's like the cool thing about being a consultant is you get to try on so many different companies' culture, and that is like a really great culture. So I have been really fortunate to have jobs in an organization where the culture is amazing, where you can do things like we will spend time developing our people. We will pay for them to go to training to help them learn some skill they don't know. You can actually hire for EQ instead of IQ. So you're able to create amazing teams. And after Burger King, I took a sabbatical, and I went to Liberty City to do some help run a nonprofit. And the recession happened. I didn't plan appropriately, ran out of money, so I had to go back to corporate and continue working. And I landed on again, right? Just another amazing company, a purchasing cooperative for Subway. And there we did this thing where I've never seen anything done before, but it was like the coolest thing possible, I think. Um, we 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 were transitioning from waterfall to agile, and one of the things we did was we got rid of everybody's titles. We made everybody the same level, and then we had projects, and it just kind of like was really cool to see like who became leaders again and who didn't. And 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 what we had then is like the people were in the positions that were best suited to their capacity, their interest, and their personality. And we crushed that. Like we crushed that organization. I mean, that was like the most fun place. We even had this thing called Love Attack, where we would go over to we'd pick a team member and we'd go over to their house on a Saturday or Sunday and help them with their chores around their house. Cut
Wow,
their
that's pretty amazing. That's talking about employee engagement. That's pretty good.
I mean, it was just amazing, amazing, amazing experience. And when you have those kinds of culture, what you have are people bringing their A game without you having to do anything.
Yeah,
Leaders Being a leader becomes so easy because all you have to really do is co-dream and move out of the way.
that is a
And
good definition of a leader who cares, not to be cute, but a leader who cares is one that develops and helps the leader and helps other people become leaders in their own right. And so you're right. That kind of reminds me that that's kind of like what turned out to be restaurant services that was with Burger King. That was their purchasing and procurement and whatnot for Burger King. Similar type of except this one was for Subway, right? All the
yeah,
procurement for Subway.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It does. It was close. Yeah, it's a similar version of RSI.
I love that concept of no titles. That doesn't allow discrimination by identity. It just have to, you are what you do, basically.
Yeah,
So super cool.
yeah.
How did you then end up at the Children's Trust?
Well, I mean, so we're now all leveled at IPC, and we just kind of like fall back into roles. And I became one of the leaders on the team that helped deliver the credit card and gift card processing system for all of Subway in North America. And I was again, right, just being a solid B person. I was at I was at Art Basel, just kind of hanging out. I was on a board for communities in school, and one of the board members had some VIP tickets to Untitled. I will never forget this. I'm there hanging out, just having. I think they were doing past hors d'oeuvres and some wine. Um, and then we were there, and the CEO at the time of the Children's Trust asked me if I know anybody that wants to become their COO, and I was like, no. I mean, I did like a smart aleck response, and he was like, no, seriously, I'm serious. And I was like, he's like, what about you? And I was like, me? I don't know. Um, and 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 he like was really excited with all the technology stuff I had accomplished. So he wanted
Mhm.
me to come and do that at the Children's Trust. And so I was like, okay, sure, we'll have this conversation. So I was definitely not a, oh my God, this is like the best job ever. But it definitely, I started reflecting, and I said, I did want to go into a C-level position. That was my next step. I was preparing myself for that role. Um, I've always been about giving back, and I was like, this is an opportunity to do something. I can't help develop Belize, but I can help develop Miami-Dade County. and be very forward thinking with our ideas and how we're doing things. And
Sure.
I think the cool thing about the Children's Trust is that I had like the amazing support of the CEO. And Jim used to say, every time I talk to you, Stephanie, my head feels like it's about to explode. I don't understand half of what you're telling me, but
I trust you.
I trust you. And so what we did was we put in an IT infrastructure that was so robust that we were probably one of the few organizations globally when COVID hit. I was like, our disaster recovery meeting lasted, I think, maybe 15 minutes. And it was just because we were just sitting around talking to each other. The actual meeting itself was like 2 minutes. They're like, what are we going to do? And I was like, have your employees take home their laptop and their power cable. We were fully virtual before we needed to be virtual. So we kept going. And what that did was it meant that instead of us having to fumble and figure out how to make our staff productive, we could spend all our brain power figuring out how to ensure that the organizations we fund survived COVID. How do we get to pay? Like what policy are we going to come up with so that we can pay them? And so being able to solve the real problem without having to deal with like technical issues was really, really cool. So
Can
I'm
you
gonna
share,
pause there.
can you share for a couple of minutes on what the trust is all about, what they do?
Yeah, the Children's Trust is a local government authority, taxing authority. So if you live in Miami-Dade County, you pay property taxes. Even if you pay rent, you still pay property taxes because most landlords roll in the property tax into the cost of the rent.
Sure.
Um, there's a line, and the Children's Trust can tax up to half a millage. So that's like $50 for every $100,000 worth of value your house has, something like that. And what we do is we take the money and we fund programs that help improve the lives of children and family in Miami-Dade County.
Right.
And some of the big things that they fund are after school care for elementary and high schoolers, early childhood, parenting, school-based health centers, and then there's some other programming that's not as huge in terms of amounts of money being invested in it.
Yeah, they do make a difference. I know about them quite a bit especially when I lived there. So that's again another example of how you can do good in the world. Business and good can come together at the same time. And I know you were actively involved with diversity and inclusion as well. I'm going to combine that with another question. What kind of relates to when Fifth Element, we launched our company on International Women's Day. We've done a lot of work with women and women leadership and stuff like that, whether it's searches or impact projects. Describe your journey again a little bit as a woman of color in a world of diverse cultures, business, prejudice, etc. How did you navigate and thrive to get to where you are today?
So that's like a really interesting thing, right? Because I think that when I first came over to the US, I didn't quite understand all of the dynamics of race relations. So I kind of just showed up slightly different than how people expect somebody that looks like me to show up. And I think by the time I got the memo, I was in a position where I could just tear up the memo and put it in the trash.
I got the memo. That's awesome.
The other thing is, I've been really fortunate to have sponsors and mentors that are carrying me along. And actually, I was at a brunch on Sunday, and I was women's brunch, and we were talking about if you're really a strong person, you're comfortable asking for help. And so I've been really lucky to have like amazing parents that instilled in me the confidence to always ask for help. My parents always helped me out. And so it it was not a big leap for me to go into to work and expect people to help me out. And I'll pull out like about a few people that really helped. Like, so there's this friend, Paul Fuller. When
Why
I
don't you
first
pull
got,
that out when we talk about influencers?
okay,
That'll be
okay.
a good time to pull that out. But
Okay,
related to
well,
what
you're gonna have to remember that. But I had amazing people that advanced my career, and that's why I don't know that I had any kind of struggle. I mean, I will tell you that I'm a solid B, but I also want to excel and advance. So I'm always competing against the old Stephanie. And because I'm competing against the old Stephanie, I'm always pushing like you gotta go, you gotta go. I set these crazy goals. Most recent goal that I set that everybody thought was absolutely insane was like 8 years ago. I said, we will create a digital mentor. And people are like, it can't be done, Stephanie. And I'm like, if I can think about it, it can be done. And they're like, no, can't be done. You can't create a digital version of people. I'm like, yes, you can.
Well, don't hold that thought because we're going to get to that in a second. But I think solid B, the B stands for best, right?
Could
um,
be.
to, want to get to the super exciting part here about um, first of all, I wanted to share a little bit about how your experiences and your accomplishments gave you, if you will, a strong foundation and the passion and interest in creating a movement to amplify Black wealth creation.
So actually, that came to me because I was at Harvard doing the Advanced Leadership Initiative program, and Rosabeth Moss Kanter said, "We want you to do something so big, so much bigger that it's scary for you." And I was going there just to kind of get some technical support and understanding about how to launch my company. I'd never done a startup before. I didn't have any experience with it. I wanted to go learn about that. And that like really spoke to me. And I was like, how many people that look like me can walk away from a high powered job and go to school for a year? And when I look at the people that have gone through this program, there's not, I mean, an average every year, there's maybe like 3 or 4 Black people in the class. Um, so that's like a privilege and an honor to be there. And I was like, what if I took all of my learnings and all the things I've done and like spend the rest of my life just leaning into giving back, like just really lean in. And then I just came up with a framework, like what do we need? We need to know that something exists. We need to know that there's a job called software tester. Nobody talks about software tester being a job. That's a good job. And it actually gives you so much exposure that positions you better for being a CIO than being an infrastructure guy or a software developer girl. Um, so I you got to have awareness, and then you have to have access, and that's how I won, because people were always willing to give me clippings out of their friend garden for me to plant in my friend garden, and that like really helped me excel. And then support. um I have some amazing people, and I can share when I have a problem. I That sits on me for as long as I want it to sit on me, which is usually a couple of days. I have people I can share with, and if I share with one person and I don't get the response that I want, I just go to the next person. I have such a lush, vibrant friend garden that there's always 2 or 3 people willing to help me
What a great
support.
expression, a friend garden. I love that. I love that. So what is your vision for this important organization, and how does, a couple of questions, how does Avatar Buddy use Gen AI to help marginalized communities get access to the needed resources you're talking about, close the achievement gap, and address social justice?
So it provides awareness and access. you don't know about something, you can create an awareness for it. If you're not if you don't have access, now you have access to the knowledge and information. And the really cool thing about Gen AI is that it provides access for you in a way that that meets you at where you are and then brings you up. And so that's like that's a huge thing.
Good.
So when you think about why some people are marginalized, it has less to do with their capacities and more with to do with their access. Generative AI provides you with awareness and access. So now you're able to get access to information. You can have it teach you things you don't know how to do before. I've seen it teach people how to use software, teach them how to write business plans, how to be strategic, helping them with their resume, helping them write things so they can respond to their court cases, so that the cases can be adjudicated in their favor. I mean, it's just like a vast array of things, and you can make mistakes in the privacy of your own phone. Nobody knows what's going on. And so this, I am seeing with my own eyes how this is helping people transcend. People are reporting greater achievements, more confidence, building agency. It's just an amazing, amazing tool. And the more we get it into their hands, the more we unlock their awesomeness. It's a conduit for their awesomeness to be unleashed on the world.
I love that. Unlock their awesomeness. That's pretty cool. Um, how did the name Avatar Buddy, how did you come up with that?
It's gonna be another one of those funny stories.
Of
So
course.
I was at a happy hour with a friend of mine, and I was telling him about what I want to do. And this was early on when everybody was like, "You are insane," and he's like, "Oh, you want to create an avatar buddy?" And I was like, "I like that." I was like, "Is it okay if I take that term?" So it's worked. It continues to work. And it just really conveys that we're not just creating, like we're taking generative AI and really creating a digital human that helps interacts with you the way other people you would interact with other people, so you can practice with your digital humans, so when you go to your real humans, your interactions are so much smoother and better.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And we all kind of need a buddy
Yeah,
at some point to talk to. And this one actually talks back. Um,
exactly. And now we have he has the ability to take on a persona of a person, so we can create a digital mark will sound and respond the way you sound and respond.
I don't think people are cheering that they want another Mark out there, but I'm game. We can do it.
There you go. There you go.
No, I think it's fantastic, the the opportunity for young people, everybody, to, you say, like, unlock their awesomeness, which I love. And once you start getting confidence, it just grows and grows and grows. So congratulations on that. And in LA, we say leave them wanting more so we can do a sequel. So we'll probably have to do a sequel. But I do have one other question I want to ask you on this part is, one client, probably in 2021, they said, Mark, the year 2020 was the year that flew by slowly. And I thought, what a
Yes.
great line.
Yes.
And it felt like that. It feels sometimes like the pandemic was yesterday and several years ago, all at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, and now we're already into 2024. What are you most grateful for, and what are you most hopeful for?
I am most grateful for the fact that because of amazing mentors in my life and an incredible career, I can now spend my time focusing creating a digital mentor. Um, what am I most afraid of? I'm most afraid of the fact that we will not get the marginalized communities to embrace this fast enough, and the achievement gap is going to get so wide. It would be like running a marathon with a 13-mile handicap. You're never going to be able to catch up. That's my greatest fear.
Well, what's your greatest hope?
Um, that that fear doesn't come to fruition.
Right.
That we do not live 1984.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling that being the leader that you are, who does care a lot, that the hope's going to overcome the fear. So thank you for being that, and I can't wait to see Avatar Buddy Mark in the future. For sure.
Same here. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the time.
My pleasure.